Farra. Welcome to MMA Fix here on the Fight Network. On this episode, I was invited to UFC 99 Giants viewing party with SHAWN Tompkins and the very sexy Amber Nicole. We'll show you the party highlights and then fast forward to the TUF 9 finale after party thrown by Joe Rogan. I'll talk to Rogan about the great night of fights from the finale, plus his pick for Lesnar versus Mir. Then we'll take you to the grand opening of the TapOut training facility here in Las Vegas, the first of a planned chain of gyms throughout the country. And we'll talk to TapOut's Dan Caldwell, better known as Punkass. Finally, we'll show you the search for Miss Coors Light 2009 at Hawaiian Tropic Zone right here in Las Vegas, which brought out some of the finest women in the city competing for the coveted title. But first, the latest MMA news. ALVAREZ and Lombard claim Bellator titles. Two tournament winners were crowned last Friday at Bellator 12. In the 155-pound final, top 10 lightweight Eddie Alvarez submitted Toby Amada with a rear naked choke in the second round. In the middleweight finale, former Cuban Olympic judo competitor Hector Lombard defeated Jared Hess via TKO in the fourth, resulting from a deep gash near Hess's right eye. Strikeforce Challengers delivers explosive fights. Strikeforce held its second show MMA Strikeforce Challengers event, and the females delivered an epic battle yet again as Canadian Sarah Kaufman bested Shayna Baszler via unanimous decision in a 135-pound bout over 3 5-minute rounds. In the fight of the night, UFC vet George Gurgel notched a unanimous decision victory over Connor HYUN after a close back-and-forth slugfest. Former Army Ranger Tim Kennedy controlled Nick Thompson in a middleweight fight before submitting him with strikes in the second round, but not without controversy. After the stoppage, Thompson, who is accustomed to fighting at welterweight, complained of illegal strikes to the back of the head, leading to the finish. In the main event, Greg Jackson pupil Smoke and Joe Villasenor earned a split decision victory over Evangelista Cyborg Santos, who fights out of the Brazilian Shoot Boxing Academy. And in UFC news, Dong Hyun Kim versus TJ Grant completes the UFC 100 card. When TJ Grant's opponent, Rory Markham, was forced to withdraw from their welterweight matchup at the Ultimate Fighter 9 finale, Grant was lucky enough to secure himself a spot at the historic UFC 100 event on July 11th, replacing a fellow Canadian. The injury forced Team Legion and TriStar gym member Jonathan Goulet out of his UFC 100 bout against Korean Dong Hyun Kim, and now Grant will face Kim on the undercard. And now the UFC 102 main card is confirmed. UFC 102 will be held on August 29th at the Rose Garden in Portland, Oregon, as was confirmed by the promotion last week. In the main event, top heavyweights Randy Couture and Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira hope to rebound from recent big losses. Randy lost his heavyweight title to Brock Lesnar, and Big Nog lost to Frank Mir, who gained the interim heavyweight title. Lesnar and Mir will duke it out at UFC 100, while Couture and Nog seek redemption on the UFC 102 card. In the co-main event, light heavyweights Keith Jardine and Thiago Silva are set for battle. Also on the main card is the highly anticipated blockbuster middleweight clash between Jiu-Jitsu whiz Damian Maia and Greg Jackson student Nate Marquardt. And to lay the rumors to rest, yes, Mirko Cro Cop has snubbed the Ultimate Fighting Championship to face Mighty Mo. Sports Illustrated is reporting that Mirko Cro Cop, fresh off his victory over Mustafa Al-Turk at UFC 99, is now officially returning to Japan at Dream 10 on July 20th. Cro Cop will face super heavyweight K1 vet Mighty Mo. Reports have emerged that Cro Cop was actually hospitalized for a severe case of food poisoning, so the fight will depend on whether or not Cro Cop is healthy enough to compete. Good news for Mustafa Al-Turk, though. He will get another fighting chance in the UFC. Al-Turk, who fell victim to Mirko Cro Cop, has been promised a third shot at competing in the octagon as a result of the controversy surrounding the finish when he was poked in the eye, which subsequently led to a barrage of strikes that forced referee Dan Miragliotta to halt the contest. Al-Turk's camp is also complaining about Miragliotta's officiating, which comes as no surprise. In TUF 9 finale news, the UK beats the US. In the UK versus UK bout, opponents Andre Winter and Ross Pearson went the distance through 3 grueling rounds. Pearson was declared the winner and crowned the Ultimate Fighter in the lightweight division. And in the welterweight ultimate fight between Team USA's DeMarcus Johnson and the UK's James Wilkes, Wilkes forced Johnson to tap with a rear naked choke with just 10 seconds remaining in the first round. The TUF 9 finale main card was filled with exciting fights. Lightweights Nate Diaz and Joe Daddy Stevenson fought 3 rounds in a fantastic display of jiu-jitsu skills and defense, leaving the judges to a unanimous decision in Stevenson's favor. With 2 groin kicks and a knee to the groin, Chris Lytle managed to battle it out with a unanimous decision win over Kevin Burns. And in the main event, Clay Guida versus Diego Sanchez. It was a bloody war between 2 high-energy, unorthodox fighters, but it was Diego Sanchez who pulled out a win with a split decision. Up now are highlights from the Giants UFC 99 viewing party. Many Zion-sponsored MMA stars were on hand to watch the fight on pay-per-view in support of Wanderlei Silva, who fought in the main event that night in Cologne, Germany. For RawVegas.tv and the Fight Network, my name is Dave Farra at Bar Louie in Las Vegas, where there is a private party going on, thrown by Zions for UFC 99, and I'm standing next to the man right now whose butterflies are going in his stomach. How you doing, Rob?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for asking.
For those of you that don't know who Rob is, he is the manager and agent of Wanderlei Silva, who, of course, is fighting right now in Germany. It's only noon our time, but it's nighttime over there, and the big event's coming up. Are you terrified right now?
Very anxious and nervous. Yeah, it's a big fight. Very, very big fight, but feel very good. Feel very confident.
We just saw Cain Velasquez beat up Chet Congo pretty handily. What do you think?
Well, Cain's living up to all the hype. I mean, the guys at AKA, a good friend of mine, Dave Camarillo, one of the head coaches there, told me about him years ago. And man, Chet Congo's no easy fight, and he made him look like he was an amateur.
Well, Shawn Tompkins, of course, being one of the top coaches in mixed martial arts, you've seen a lot of the top UFC guys fighting tonight. Is there anyone that's really stood out to you other than, of course, Cain?
Well, it's been a pretty solid card, but I've known Dan Hardy for a lot of years, and I've always said that he's going to be a shining star. It's just a matter of time. And I was really impressed by the way he worked over Marcus Davis. It was a close fight, but the things that I saw him do, I saw a good game plan, and I saw good counters to Marcus Davis's technique.
My producer just walked up to me and said something I never expected to hear. She said, Dave, Amber's ready for you.
And I am.
You're at the party today? You're sporting the Zions?
Yes, always. Having a giant party at Bar Louie. It's a great success, and watching the fights.
The main event hasn't happened yet. Who are you pulling for, Franklin or Silva?
Silly question.
I know.
Wanderlei, of course. He's our Zions man, so I'm pulling for him, and I actually think he'll win. He's just a bigger, stronger guy.
Joe Rogan was just talking about how Wanderlei can really kind of reinvent himself with a win in this fight and then a move down to 185. Is that the plan, is to win this fight and then immediately drop to 185?
I think that's the plan. If you ask Wanderlei, he's a company guy. He's going to listen to what the UFC has to say. I think he would pose a lot of difficulties for guys in that division. As he's repeatedly said, he's a smaller 205er. But I think he'd like to compete at both, to be honest with you.
Who are some guys coming out of Team Tompkins that have some big fights upcoming?
I got Chris HORODECKI, who's here with me watching the fights today. He's in town doing his camp for Biloxi, Mississippi, and he's doing it back-to-back. He's fighting in Biloxi in 2 weeks on the 27th, and then August 1st again in Affliction. So I got him. I got Mark the Hammer Coleman. Everybody knows about Mark the Hammer. He's getting ready for UFC 100. That's been a lot of fun. And probably about 10 other guys that are running me crazy right now. So a lot of fights coming up.
Give me your thoughts on Coleman's conditioning. You would know better than anyone.
Coleman is a different athlete than anybody's ever seen in the history of the Hammer. He's in great shape. Jake Bonacci is his strength conditioning coach. Jake trains a lot of the guys I train. I wouldn't do it without him. And the Hammer's ready, man. I'm excited about this fight. I think, I'm a good friend of Stephan Bonner's, but I think he's in a world of trouble in this matchup.
Mr. HORODECKI, how are you, man?
Good, man. What's going on?
UFC 99 is going on right now. It's still early in the day. Are you drinking?
No. I'm keeping safe. Sporting Zions. Hosting the party today.
You got a big fight coming up, so I suppose you shouldn't be drinking too much, right?
No. Not too much. Just a couple shots.
Give us a story. Why did you have to back out of your last fight?
Leading in the camp, about a month out, I had an injury. One of my discs pinched a nerve in my neck, and my whole arm was shot. I didn't have any strength in my right arm. It really hindered my training. I fought through it. I did all the therapy and everything I could. I still came to the fight, but the day before the weigh-ins, the doctor wouldn't clear me.
You had a lot of success in the IFL, but there's no argument the UFC is still the kingpin. Has there been any negotiations? Have you thought about going to the UFC at all?
Absolutely, but I leave that all to my management, Dinero Sports. I got a great group of guys. They take care of me, and that's out of my hands. I just go wherever they point their finger.
But everyone loves to see Wanderlei fight. What's next? Are you going to make the cut all the way down to 185? Anderson Silva still a possibility after a couple of more fights. What are you thinking?
No, I think 185 is definitely the target. I think that was the whole reason behind doing this catchweight fight to begin with. Wanderlei proved today that he's still a draw. He's still a top guy in the UFC, regardless of what the division is. He put on a good performance, and I expect him to be back I would say probably at the end of the year.
Sorry things didn't go your way today, but always VANDALAY putting on a great show. Thanks for talking to us and inviting us to the party.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you for coming out.
Up next, we'll take you to the grand opening of the new TapOut training facility here in Las Vegas, where we'll talk to Stephan Bonner, VINNY MAGALHAES, and TapOut's own Punk Ass. Vinny, how you doing, man?
They're pretty good.
I normally see you in your full gi.
It's the first time I'm on TV with my gi on.
I feel honored that this is our moment that we're sharing together, Vinny. Tell us, have you been actually practicing today, or why the gi?
I was just demonstrating some jiu-jitsu techniques, and I was training a little bit of judo too. So yeah, today is our grand opening here at TapOut Training Center, and I'm glad that I'm here being part of this team.
Does that mean that you're involved behind the scenes, or you just come here to train? What's your status?
Oh, no, I'm actually like training here and teaching here. I'm one of their like jiu-jitsu instructor, so I'll be here like, you know, really often, pretty much like 5 days a week.
Tell us about the TapOut Training Center, because obviously it's a beautiful place and they put a lot of money into it, but what makes this unique as far as compared to all the other gyms in Las Vegas?
Honestly, man, I've never been like in a better facility, like, you know, we have anything you need to be like a pro fighter or just, you know, a guy who loves the sport. So we have like an official size cage, official size ring. We have like 3 mat areas. So it's the biggest and the best facility like that I've been in.
Somebody who's been on The Ultimate Fighter, who's been on the TV show and has experienced that whole thing, obviously has some TV cred. You get people coming in here going, you know what, train me because I've seen you on TV.
Well, I give that a lot, but, you know, I was hoping that people would come here to train with me because of my credentials, you know, for me to be like a good instructor, not just because of the TV show.
Oh, you're actually good at jiu-jitsu, huh?
I think so. I think I'm learning.
Have you seen this belt? Did you get this? The red and the white, that means really good, right?
That just means that I've been training for a long time. It doesn't mean that I'm good, but, you know.
Tell us what's next for you, man. When do we get to see you back in the cage?
Well, as everybody knows, I got cut from the UFC, so now I'm just looking for, you know, smaller shows, and I want to be fighting every month and get it back to the UFC next year. That's my goal.
Stephan Bonner, did you know that Mark Coleman said that in a fight between the two of you that he would win?
Yeah, well, usually, you know, you're fighting a guy and you ask the person, are you going to beat your opponent? you don't have much of a choice there. So, but yeah, even if he was talking mad shit, that's fine. Fuel to the fire, you know, something to motivate me a little more. That's fine.
He says that he wants to be the first guy to ever finish you. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, but that ain't gonna happen. I really hope he tries and tries hard because I'm gonna still be there, you know, after no matter what he throws at me, and you know, I'll be sure to laugh at him.
Is it kind of an honor to fight a legend though in the UFC, a Hall of Famer?
Oh, definitely, man. I do still got a lot of respect for him. He's, you know, one of the pioneers of this sport and just a great athlete. You know, he was an Olympian and he's still plugging away. And yeah, I give him all the credit in the world.
You guys are both training here in Las Vegas. Have you seen him at all? Because he says he's been trying to avoid you.
Yeah, I've always been one to trying to stay away from my opponents till the day of the fight. If I run into him, you know, I'll just keep on going. You know, I don't need to get into that sort of thing.
We were talking to one of your good friends, Mr. Forrest Griffin, and he's very excited about this fight, and he thinks you're going to win. So he's got a fight of his own coming up against a man called Anderson Silva. How do you think he's going to do in that fight?
Well, I think he could do it, you know. I expect him to be the underdog in the fight because, you know, you're fighting the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, but that's a good thing because he does really good when he's the underdog, and he's got something to prove. And just his tenacity and just putting a lot of pressure on him, you know, keeping his hands up. Yeah, I see him being able to wear Anderson down.
We know that you've also been training over at Striking Unlimited with Frank Mir, who just had a baby. Another one. He's got a big camp growing over there. How's he looking, and what are you thinking for that fight?
Man, he's got a really good camp. I like the way he does things there. He's got a lot of coaches, a lot of training partners, a lot of attention, working on a lot of specifics. So I think he'll be in good shape. That's usually what most people worry about, how his conditioning will be. But, you know, with you know, that many people pushing you, you don't got much of a choice. And he's looking really good, and I think he could pull it off.
Finally, there's just so much excitement around the UFC 100 card. What does it mean to you to fight on this card? It doesn't mean anything. Is there a difference between 100? Like, if you got 101 or 102, would it not be as great?
No, it's pretty cool. It's a milestone, but it's, yeah, I don't know. I just blocked that out. You know, it's going to be so big, a lot of people there. But, you know, to me, it's just me and Mark Coleman locked in a cage, you know.
So it wouldn't have mattered if they gave you 103?
No, I'm very thankful to be fighting on 100. Don't try to pull those words out of my mouth, but, you know, yeah, just me and Coleman in a cage. You know, if it's just like on the Ultimate Fighter show, there's no one around. It was like you could hear roaches clicking and roaches crickets, chirp, chirp, you know. That was kind of eerie, but yeah, it's going to be packed. There's going to be swarms of people around the whole week and a lot of distractions, but just try to stay focused and it's one thing, Mark Coleman, destroy.
We're here with Stephan Bonner in the background. It's very exciting for you. Who are you pulling for with Bonner and Coleman? Do you have to say Bonner?
I got it. You know, Stephan's our bud, man, and I like Coleman too. You know, he's a old school guy who really paved the way for a lot of these young guys who are fighting today, and I love to see him fight. You know, I just like watching him fighting, but of course I'm gonna be pulling for our boy Stephan.
So there's lots of big plans by a lot of organizations and brands for UFC 100. What should we expect from TapOut? You guys got to pull out something crazy for us, huh?
Well, we're going to have a bigger-than-life booth over at the convention. Our TapOut radio, if everything works, we're going to have them broadcasting live on TapOut radio from the convention. We have a lot of good fighters who are going to be signing autographs there. We're going to be selling our clothes there. And then, and so the convention is really cool. That, you know, it's the first time UFC's doing something like that, and it's cool to be a part of that. And you know, and then a lot of great fights on the card. You know, we're just excited about that. We have a couple parties. We have a party on Friday, and forgive me, I forget where the party's at. On Saturday, I believe we have one at Tao, and then we're throwing one we're throwing one at Jet too. So we just have a lot going on. It's so much on my plate. I'm sorry, I forgot where our party is on Friday. But you know, we just have a lot going on. It's a good thing. You can check our website. Definitely check out tapout.com. All the info's on there for my dumb ass who forgot.
All right, Lesnar or Mir?
You know what? I love Mir. He's a great guy. But I would be lying if I didn't say he was going to have his hands full with Lesnar, because Brock is just a monster, man. I mean, even the first time he fought him, he had his hands full, and I don't think Brock totally had the game down yet. So, like anybody knows who trains, the more that person learns how to defend those submissions, the harder it is going to be able to get them. And if he was having that much trouble with them, I think it's really going to be hard for him to catch Brock in anything. Not to say that he couldn't, because Mir is the master at that stuff. So, you know, I would say if I was a bet man, I'd have to say Brock. But I would definitely be, you know, I'm pulling for Mir too. You know, I hope for a great fight.
Speaking of being at the fights, we are going to see you and Skyscrape at UFC 100. Will we see an empty chair for Mask?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we're never going to forget Mask in anything that we do. And we always said that we're going to have that open seat, and also the UFC has said that they will have him up on the door that into the cage, so you'll see his name up there on the top. And so, you know, it's going to be a good time, and you know, he'll always be a part of that. And you know, whenever they talk about him, yeah, we can get emotional sometimes, but you know what, I tend to want to remember the good times, so it's I try to get myself out of that mode, because he wouldn't have wanted, you know, the only person we're feeling sorry for is ourselves when we miss somebody like that, because it's just we're missing our interaction with that person. And so, you know, I mean, I'm really happy for all the things that he did, and I'm a better person because I knew him and because we were friends for 20 years. So I like to remember those times.
Finally, what about the show? We all want to see the show back on Versus. Are we going to get a chance?
Well, you know, honestly, I don't. Never say never, but I don't think we're going back to Versus. But we are planning the new show. We had a setback, but with the passing of our partner, and but we're gonna be planning to start filming towards the end of this year, probably for a release in 2010, and we'll be on a new network, hopefully Spike or a major network, possibly.
Awesome. Thank you so much for talking to us, Dan.
Thanks, son. Thank you.
Oh, good right hand. No! Morning, we will find the match. Wow. That was a nice right hand.
Over the weekend, Hawaiian Tropic Zone held the Miss Coors Light 2009 competition, which brought out half-naked women. So, of course, we were there to cover the event.
What's up, Vegas? This is LYNN for RawVegas.tv. We're here at Hawaiian Tropic Zone in search of Miss Coors Light Las Vegas. As you can see behind me, there's 25 sexy women ready to strut their stuff and compete for the title. What is it that you think you have to be the next Miss Coors Light Las Vegas?
Well, I have a lot of personality, and I know that's what they're looking for. Physical, of course, to go ahead and push their product, and that's what I'm here to do.
Know the product, drink it all the time, best one. Definitely personality, outgoing, somebody to go out there and represent Coors Light, and that's what I'm here for.
I'm very outgoing, have very good personality, and the body, I think I got it.
I like to be energetic and fun, easygoing.
I love liquor, so that's always a plus, but I like having fun, I like being out, I like promoting, and I guess that's about it.
What do you have that would make you the next Miss Coors Light Las Vegas?
I'm an exotic girl, I'm Italian, and I think us exotic girls need a little bit more love out there.
I would say also Cuban, great personality, and exotic, funny, fun, spontaneous, and sexy.
What's your best asset?
My body, my pretty eyes. Some of this helps too.
My best asset, well, have a 5-year-old girl, and I think I kind of blend in with these non-mom girls.
What's your best feature?
Everyone tells me my eyes.
Look at the camera, show me your best
My eyes.
Honestly, I think my best feature would be my smile or my eyes. So I've been told.
My best feature I'm going to have to go with is my assets, 1 and 2.
Personality, also assets, all of the above.
What's most important, the modeling contract, the prize money, or the title and the paid appearances?
Both. I don't like to lose.
If you did win, what would you do with the money?
Probably invested in our other contests we're in, which is the Hot 100, to make ourselves look even better for that and just in general.
All right, the results are in. In 3rd place, Jessica Lauren. In 2nd place, Linda Reyes. And the winner of Miss Coors Light Las Vegas, Inishiba Brock.
For RawVegas.tv, my name's Dave Farra at Tao Nightclub inside the Venetian, where tonight Joe Rogan's going to show up. Joe Rogan, of course, from the UFC and from stand-up comedy. We'll talk to him about both right here on RawVegas.tv. Joe Rogan, how you doing, man?
Good, brother. How you doing?
Isn't your comedy special on right now? Shouldn't you be having a party somewhere watching it?
No, I don't want to see it. I've seen it. I've done it already. I looked at it through the editing process. I looked at it plenty. I get uncomfortable when I watch myself sometimes.
Isn't it funny that everyone knows you now for the UFC instead of the comedy stuff? Because it used to be reversed a while ago.
Well, it was more the Fear Factor stuff than anything else. And then it was like the UFC was like, that was like the surprise, and now like comedy. I definitely think it's still more Fear Factor than anything, you know?
I doubt it, man. You're like the guy. You're kind of onto something with this whole UFC thing, I think.
Well, I think the UFC for sure is going nowhere. I mean, this is, or it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, it's not that it's going nowhere. I mean, it's crazy how popular it is. I never would have dreamed it. You know, when I did commentary for the first one, it was like 1997 UFC 12, and it was in Dothan, Alabama, and it was this tiny little arena, you know, and it was real weird, and nobody knew what was going on, and everybody would yell gay as soon as it went to the ground. And to see it now where it is, I mean, it's just incredible. You know, I never would have believed it.
Let's talk about the fights tonight, man, because there was like 3 fights where I'm like, this has got to be fight of the night.
We haven't stopped talking about the Clay Guida-Diego Sanchez fights from the moment we left the arena till right now. We were just talking about it when we get in the car.
Who takes his chin to the chin and stays alive?
That guy is a fucking monster. He's a monster. He won't stop, you know. And Diego, that dude just gets better and better every time he fights. And his stand-up is just, it looks so much crisper and more comfortable. Like, he always had, like, power in his punches. Like, even when he knocked out Joe Riggs. But it almost seemed like it was a little awkward. But now he looks like a kickboxer.
He's using his full reach, too?
Dude, he's a monster. He's a monster. Diego's a monster. That's why I knew this was going to be such a tremendous fight, because they're both monsters. Much props to Diego. I mean, he's just incredible performance, you know?
Would you say that those 2 guys are the most intense fighters in the UFC today?
That was the craziest stare down ever. Me and Mike Goldberg were saying, I want to watch that stare down for a half an hour. You know, it's just a mean face contest, you know, and I don't know who won. It was pretty close, you know. They're both pretty nuts, man.
All right, let's chat UFC 100 because everyone's jazzed about this.
Yeah, well, I talked to Brock Lesnar. We did a little satellite thing today. I got a chance to, you know, talk to him a little bit, but, you know, what an incredible fight that's going to be. Frank Mir is so rejuvenated since the Nogueira fight. I mean, that dude finally, like, trained really hard, and then he had the performance of his life. It's like the universe sent him a message. Like, you have all the talent in the world, just focus yourself and look how good you can be. You know, and if he keeps that going, man, and improves on it even, who knows how Brock Lesnar's going to be able to handle that. But then again, Brock Lesnar is, even though he's the UFC heavyweight champion, he's learning on the job. I mean, that guy's getting so much better every time you see him. Like, the Heath Herring fight was incredible. And he looked, you know, he just looks like a monster. You know, the Randy Couture fight, when he clipped Randy with, like, it looked like barely even, you know, barely connected on point, you know, just clipped him. And Randy dropped. I mean, he's just a gorilla, just like a super athlete. And he's learning all the positions now, learning what to avoid, you know, drilling it. He doesn't want to make that same mistake that he made in the first fight. So that's an incredible fight, man. You got this newly rejuvenated Frank Mir, who really the big momentum from his rejuvenation, or for his rejuvenation, was the win over Lesnar. Once he beat Lesnar, it was like, holy shit, Frank Mir is for real. He's back. He really was like he's back. And now with this fight, with him coming off the Nogueira fight, and how good Brock has looked, and how good he looked against Randy, and how spooky he looked against Heath Herring, man, that's a fight. That's a sick fight.
You know, his stand-up looked incredible against Nogueira, but I will say that Brock Lesnar's a beast. Do you think there's any way that Frank Mir can actually beat Brock Lesnar standing up, trading punches with him?
Who knows? You know, I don't know. You know, you look at Brock Lesnar, you go, God, that guy seems like he could just take an immense amount of punishment. You know, just physically, like his frame, it's like, you know, a guy like that, it looks like it'd be really hard to hurt. Frank Mir's so good on the ground. I mean, you never know what can happen in a fight. You zig when you should have zagged. You know, you never know. But if you had a look, I don't think that's the way he's going to beat him. But I could be wrong. You know, if I guessed how Frank Mir could win, it's got to be a submission. That's what I would think. But if I guess how Brock Lesnar would be, it would be some sort of a brutal molestation, brutality type of a thing.
Final question for you, St. Pierre and Alves. Give me your thoughts.
That's an amazing fight, and really the first time George St. Pierre has fought a real striker. In my opinion, Alves is the most dangerous stand-up fighter he's ever fought. And then if you got to look at Alves' last fight, or the fight with Josh Koscheck, how good his takedown defense was. I mean, it was just outstanding. The Hughes fight, he got taken down, but, you know, first of all, Matt Hughes is a beast. And second of all, he supposedly had an injured ankle, which is why he couldn't make weight for that fight. He was 176. You can remember they had a fight at a catch weight, and he looked gigantic. And it was because he couldn't do any running, apparently. So if you factor that into it, like, man, he's a dangerous, dangerous opponent, you know? I mean, and then you got to think about the only time that GSP has really been beat down was by Matt Serra. You know, Matt Serra caught him with a big punch and then went after him. Now, we don't usually see him get hit that much, you know? I mean, George, like, when George fought, like his last couple of fights, his boxing has looked so good. Like the BJ fight, the way he wore BJ down first, which was very, very smart, a good strategy. But his boxing just looks so crisp. His stand-up looks excellent, and he's not really getting hit. But a guy like Alves might hit him, you know? And then what happens?
UFC 100, I'm Ant. I know you're Ant. Enjoy your party tonight. Congratulations on your big stand-up special hitting Comedy Central. I know that's big for you.
Thank you very much. And I enjoy watching your interviews. I watch them online all the time. Thanks, man. Appreciate
Joe Rogan, Dave Farra, thanks for joining us here on RawVegas.tv. Thanks for joining us on this episode of MMA Fix. I'm Dave Farra from RawVegas.tv and the Fight Network. Have a good night, and we'll see you here next week.
Now you talk. following program contains scenes of violence. Viewer discretion is advised.